Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning. And to you, Administrator Regan, good morning. Welcome to your first budget hearing before this subcommittee. I'm glad to be joining Chairman Murkowski for this very important discussion about EPA's fiscal year 2022 budget request. I'd like to open by first thanking you. It's always good to start with a thank you and notes of appreciation, but you made an early commitment to work with me on a number of issues that uniquely affect my state that are important to Alaska. You and your staff have been responsive in engaging with me and my team, and I truly do appreciate that. It's my sincere hope that this level of outreach and coordination will continue throughout your tenure as administrator. And on that note, as the agency under this administration reviews and potentially rescinds regulations that are promulgated under the previous administration, it is imperative that you engage with Congress and consider all perspectives before taking action. The agency under the previous administration, I think, struck the right regulatory balance on a number of key issues, and I would point to WOTUS as a specific example. You stated in a previous hearing that you are, quote, not satisfied, close quote, with the existing WOTUS rule. On WOTUS and many other regulations that significantly affect Alaska and the nation, my hope is that this administration not engage in the regulatory overreach that we saw under the Obama administration. So I credit you for your goal of finding common ground among varying stakeholders. And again, I can't stress how important that will be in practice on these issues. Another issue where it's important to find common ground among diverse stakeholders is on long-term protections for the Bristol Bay watershed. Last week, I had an opportunity to visit Dillingham out in the Bristol Bay region to begin discussions on what protections may be needed and really the overall future of the region. I was able to reiterate my commitment to developing a long-term, durable solution and began the process to develop a legislative proposal based off of input from regional stakeholders. And Administrator Regan, as I shared with you and the other EPA nominees that I have had an opportunity to speak with, I think I've been pretty clear in my concerns about the use of the 404C veto for the Pebble deposit. I hope you'll be working with us on legislative protections and not relying solely on heavy-handed administrative approaches. Again, my interest here is to find an enduring solution here, and I'd like to work with you on that. Now, turning to fiscal year 2022, the EPA's budget request totals approximately $11.2 billion. That's almost a 22% increase over last year's funding level. This, along with the $116 billion proposed in the American Jobs Plan, is really a stunning amount of proposed funding for the agency. This budget request and the American Jobs Plan are both proposals as of now, and of course Congress will ultimately decide the fate of both. There are a number of proposed increases in the request that I can support and a number that I cannot. I appreciate the request's commitment to state and tribal grant and loan programs that lead to on-the-ground improvements for communities across the country. In my time with this subcommittee, and particularly as chair, I've worked hard to provide increases to the many EPA programs that achieve the real substantive results in attaining cleaner air, water, and lands for the people of Alaska and across this great country, and I will continue to do so. I will say that I am disappointed to see that the Alaska Native Villages program and the Targeted Airshed program are held flat in a request that does include so many increases. These are grant programs that really help to address some important and significant problems in the state of Alaska, so I would hope that we would see increases in future requests for both. On the American Jobs Plan and infrastructure spending, if an infrastructure bill is passed, and I'm one of those that's working to try to do just that, it is critical that remote and rural communities are able to easily access funding, which is a challenge many such communities face. The administration's proposal makes mention of funds for underserved communities, but lacks details that provide assurance that the funding will be meaningfully helpful in remote communities such as we have in so many of our native villages across the state. It is critical that you and really all of us work to ensure that steep barriers to entry on infrastructure funding, such as high matching requirements, are avoided for these very smaller communities. So to close, I will reiterate that I do appreciate your commitment to working with me on so many of these issues that are important to Alaska, but also very, very unique, and I think you have noted that. I'll be asking you about a number of them in my questions this morning. I look forward to your continued help towards making progress on these and so many issues that are important